Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. All praise be to Allah, the Master of the Day of Judgment, and peace and blessings be upon our beloved Messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. O Allah, accept our prayers, fasting, and supplications.
Amen.
Dear brothers and sisters, I salute you all with the salutation of the people of paradise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome to your program, The Choice, a brand new show with me, Hatem Al-Absalam, and my dear brother, Ahmed Al-Matani. Assalamu alaikum, Ahmed.
Wa alaikum salam, Hatem. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How's everything?
Well, so far so good. How's Ramadan with you?
Good. Yesterday was a difficult one, but alhamdulillah, today is much, much, much better. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
So we have this show, the choice. And the theme of this show is that we're going to present every single day two choices in life, and we are going to debate and ask one another difficult questions, and we leave
Difficult questions?
Yeah, difficult questions. Prepare yourself. I'm going to grill you today. And we're going to leave the conclusion to our listeners, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us and gave us the choice in everything that we do. But these choices that we make, they come with good deeds or consequences. So our work, our job is to present to you these choices and give you the rightful elements in each one of them, and we leave everything to you. So today, my guest Ahmed Al-Muta'ani, we're going to discuss about morals versus freedom.
Yes.
And I have to prepare you mentally from the beginning that I'm going to be neutral in today's show. And I'm going to wear the hat of the public and ask difficult questions so that we don't be biased to one idea and another. So are you ready?
Yeah, hopefully. With
Inshallah.
the help of God, inshallah.
Inshallah. So why did we choose morals and freedom? What do they have to do with one another? So maybe if we discuss the definition first. What is morals?
Well, before we talk about the definitions, are very connected, in fact. I see that they are very related to each other, and they affect each other, in one way or another. Let's first of all talk about the concept of morals, okay? There are so many definitions for morals. Morals can be defined as principles, habits with respect to right or wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, this is one definition that we tend to. Also, when you go to some dictionaries like dictionary.com, for example, the website, they say motivation based on the ideas of right and wrong. And also, we refer also morals as morality sometimes, okay, which is basically the code of conduct that either an individual or group of people in a community hold it as an authoritative to distinguish what is right from wrong. So you can see that it's a code of conduct, full of rules, full of regulations to govern, the process of living. Okay, so that's basically what we mean by morals.
Okay, so is morals a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, morals are really good, okay,
Good.
because the whole idea of morals actually is to make sure that rights are protected, okay, duties are done in the right format, okay, without interfering with other people's businesses in a way that, we invade, the freedom of people. And at the same time, if we don't have morals and, or rules in general, what's going to happen? People will start, acting the way they want. So we need to have sort of a code of conduct where we have to follow in order to make sure that the rights are protected, and also people follow certain rules in order to fulfill their rights, their duties and their work.
Okay, now where do we get these morals from?
Well, as a Muslim community, okay, we have certain sources, that we derive, these morals from. The first one is the Holy Quran.
Yes.
Okay, like if you just scan or the Holy Quran, you find a lot of morals, okay, described in a lot of verses in the Holy Quran, a lot of chapters. Okay, this is the first source. The second source is the prophetic traditions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, his personality, his way of life. This is another source of our morals. And of course, the other one is the Sharia. Okay, and Sharia usually derive most of the rules from the Quran and from the prophetic, traditions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yes, sir.
But there are also things which are up to date, where scholars have to sit together and decide, how to go about them. So this is why we have rules for Sharia, okay, to govern, okay, to control these kind of morals, okay, or to put some clear guidelines, for these morals.
So what happens to the people who don't have access to this Quran? Where do they get their morals from? Or can you label them as being immoral?
No, actually, of course, in every religion, there's a religious text that they have to refer to.
Yes.
And there are a lot of overlapping morals, actually, when it comes to the teachings of morals. Okay, for example, in Christianity, in Judaism, okay, in Islam, there are a lot of morals which are shared in all these different, religions.
Yes.
So definitely, you'll have to refer to their religious text, and also their prophets, okay, those who convey the message. And of course, there are certain rules that derive from the scholars of that particular religion. So I would say they are all share this kind of, idea of deriving morals, from.
What about the people who don't follow any faith? They're just, they're just living like that without any faith. And they consider themselves being moral because they are good citizens and they do the right thing.
Yes.
So where do they get their morals from?
Definitely, we need to define or to distinguish between religious morals, okay, and what we call them maybe universal morals. Okay. I mean, you can always be a moral person without, following a certain religion. Okay. There are certain rules, certain behaviors that people tend to do, and they don't require to have, a religion. For example, the moral of respect, for example. You don't need to follow a certain path or religious path in order to be a moral when it comes to the idea of respect.
Respect.
But the danger when you don't have a religious, okay, reference, okay, there's always this possibility of it changing. When you have a reference, when you have, let's say, the Quran, for example, okay, Quran will be a source that will not change, will be applicable for the past, for the current situation, and for the future. But if you leave it to people to decide on what is good and what is bad, then, people will just do it, according to their, circumstances, if there's a hidden agenda and so on. So I think, the idea of having universal morals is not always, a good idea in terms of controlling these, morals and so on.
So you mean they might change, maybe from
one
generation to another, or
yes,
the circumstances.
Exactly. And in when we follow a religion, okay, we are here to follow certain guidelines that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or God has commanded us to follow. So there is no possibility for people to change them and so on. Maybe the interpretations of these morals or teachings will change from time to another. But they are actually, if you go to the main sources, they are always there. They will not change, and there's no way to change them anyway.
What if I want to follow a particular set of morals from a particular religion, but I'm not a follower of that religion? So, for example, if you have someone who is an atheist,
Yes.
and he comes to you, Ahmed, and says, "I want to follow some of the morals of the Muslims or the religion of Islam," and can I do that?
Yes.
And I don't want to be a follower of Islam.
Well, like the first of all, he can do that, okay, as a person, because morals are always, aiming to make people do good things, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and also forbid us from doing bad things.
That's
okay,
right.
So I want this person actually to deal with me in a nice way, okay, and I want to deal with that person in a nice way. But as part of my responsibility, I have also to explain to him, okay, why, for example, we believe in such morals, why they are discussed in the Quran, for example, or in this particular faith, okay, in this format. And then it's up to that person whether he wants to accept this teaching or not.
Yeah.
But I think it's okay for anybody to accept whatever that person does. But there is also one thing here we have to know, is that if I want to follow something from another school of thought
Yes.
or from another religion. That kind of thing should not conflict with the teaching that I believe in. Let's say that, there's a certain value, whatever, is discussed in a certain faith, okay? But it's not discussed in, the faith that you believe in. Then you have, first of all, to give a priority for the morals or the teachings or the rules that you have in your religion. And then if they are overlapping or they share a lot of commonalities, then it's okay to take from that one.
Okay, so are there any, are there different types of morals out there?
Yeah, I mean, like as we said before, the religious morals, this is one type, okay? There are universal morals which are not connected to the idea of religion, okay? That, respect, dealing with people nicely and so on. These are universal morals. But there are specific morals which are connected to a specific, religious, school or a religion and so on. So we can categorize them into two of these ones, universal and religious ones. And of course there will be some subgroups, that, educational morals, okay, social morals and so on. But these are the main two types of morals that we tend to discuss, when it comes to morals.
Do you think they clash with one another, the universal morals and the religious morals?
They might. They might. For example, especially when it comes to the size and the space that you're trying to give. For example, respect. Let's talk about respect, for example, as an example. Okay, for me, respect, might, have this much of boundaries. Okay, for another person, coming from another, school of thought or just who doesn't believe in a religion, he might have a different interpretation for what? For respect.
Yes.
So they might sometimes clash in terms of the boundaries, okay, the limits, okay, whether this is okay in this situation, this is okay with these people or not. And you remember, when it comes to universal morals, which are not derived from a specific religion, there's this always possibility of wrong interpretations, because you always tend to rely on what is best for you. You don't think sometimes about, what is best for the group, or also whether it is a clashing with the teaching of a certain religion or not. For example, in Islam. So you might either enlarge that kind of space, or sometimes you might, limit it. And you might just, put it in a certain context in order to achieve a hidden agenda or a certain agenda, not necessarily a hidden agenda, but maybe even, to achieve your own goals.
Ahmed, are there any factors to consider when it comes to morals?
Definitely, we need to consider certain factors like time, place, culture, age, also sometimes gender. Okay, because sometimes, these morals can be, if we leave them, open like this, okay, they might sort of contradict with each other. And especially when it comes to time, for example. The concept itself of a moral, or good or bad, is exactly the same. But it will try to integrate more things to suit that particular time. Because life is changing, okay? Things are integrated, from time to time. And we cannot live in isolation from all these kind of things, correct? So we need to consider these factors. A place, of course, we need also to consider the place. There are certain things that will be specifically done in a certain place because of because people are different. There are also factors related to culture. People have different cultures, so you cannot implement that concept, okay, the way it is implemented in Oman, for example, the way you implement it, for example, in the U.S. But the core value of that moral should be exactly the same. But it should accommodate more than what it is could be applied in a different context.
Yeah, to my understanding is the morals that are derived from a spiritual source should be constant, should not really change from time or
in terms
space,
of core, okay, but it doesn't mean that it cannot accommodate, the different changes that happening around us.
Give us an example of
for example,
moral.
like living here in this culture where people are very reserved, okay, they have a lot of restrictions and so on. So maybe certain morals would work, okay, perfectly fine, okay, in terms of restrictions.
Yes.
While, for example, when you go to the West, for example, where people are more open, more sociable, and so on, they might, need to have, a better, like a space or a bigger space in order to listen to or to talk about such a thing.
Isn't this culture?
They are overlapping, one way or another. But you need also to consider the concept of culture because, Hatem,
Yes.
I mean, I know that we are very proud of, our identity and so on, okay? But sometimes you have to loosen up in order to cope with another culture,
Yes.
okay? Let's say if you're going to America, okay, and there are some people who are, let's say, fanatic or racist and so on. If you go like this, dressed, with your dishdasha, okay, first of all, people will be able to recognize you, okay, especially with the stereotypes that we have from the media, that, Muslims are terrorists and so on. So you need, to adapt, okay, and adopt, from different cultures, okay, unless, as long as they don't clash with the core values of your religion.
This brings me to my next point, which is morals and clothing.
Yes.
So you mentioned this. Is the clothing something to do with morals, or is it something cultural?
No, definitely. There are certain boundaries or certain rules that we have to maintain when it comes to the idea of clothing.
Yes.
For example, wearing a dishdasha, for example.
Yeah.
Okay, is not Islamic, for example.
Yes.
As a concept. Okay, I mean it's a cultural thing, but the Islamic teaching can adopt it. Okay, because it matches all the conditions of what proper clothing.
The criteria.
The criteria.
Yes.
But also a dishdasha can also be a problem. If it does not follow the design, the look, and so on, does not follow the conditions of clothing.
Yes.
For example, if it is tight, if it is, for example, not, showing, like certain parts, you're not supposed to show, for example.
Yes.
The same thing, for abaya. Abaya is a cultural concept, that, society decided to adopt. But as Islamic, understanding for it, it is okay, to have abaya in this. But abaya can be also a problem if it is not following what the conditions and the teachings of Islam.
So what you say that there are certain elements in clothing which are to do with morals?
Yes.
And certain elements have to do with the culture.
Correct. Yeah, but the core values have to be maintained and preserved all the time. Okay, when it comes to that. I can move from one culture to another, okay, which means I can adapt, I can adopt, and so on. But as long as I don't cross the red lines of my religion,
yes,
then it should not be a problem.
What I fail to understand is that sometimes you might be labeled as someone with no morals because you have maintained the morals, religious morals, but you have broken the cultural aspect of it.
Yeah.
And then you are being labeled as someone who is
not moral.
Not moral. I want to talk about that because it is important.
Correct.
To distinguish
between
what is religious or considered to be religiously moral, and what is cultural.
Exactly. Like we need to make a clear.
I give you something which is close to.
Yeah.
If you see me today coming to the show, wearing a short and a t-shirt, a sportswear.
Yeah.
What would you think of me?
I would think that you're normal.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I mean, for me.
You didn't think that I was not. I'm not a moral person or.
No, I mean, I know where you're coming from. Differently, people who are narrow-minded and people who think that culture is more important than the religious, teaching, would think that, you're breaking the rules. And when you break the rules of the culture, that means you have a problem.
Yes.
Okay? But as long as you're maintaining, okay, the conditions and the rules, okay, of your dress, I don't see a problem with that. Unless you're just trying to say that I'm changing here or I'm wearing this way in order to degrade, the culture component of that particular dress. Do you know what I'm saying? For example,
I'm not sure, but yes.
yeah, okay, what I'm saying, look, let me put it this way.
Yeah.
Let's say that you decided to wear jeans or to wear, because you think that wearing a dishdasha is a problem.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Is a sign of backwardness. Okay? Is a sign of, being not up to date. Then there is a problem. Okay? Because you're trying to degrade a culture. Okay? You're trying to degrade, like a concept. Then I have a problem with that. But if you're just wearing it because you want just to, to change, or you want to have a different, way of dressing, then I don't have a problem. As long as you are maintaining and preserving what the conditions and the criteria for that dress.
My question here is, are you offending the community and you're being immoral because you have broken one of the the rituals of the culture? Because the trend is, let's say, for example, that for you to maintain your cultural identity is to wear dishdasha.
Yeah.
So today, if you're wearing a jeans, people will be offended, for example, but you are not following the culture. Is that part considered to be immoral?
I don't think I mean, in my opinion, I don't think it is immoral, okay? Because first of all, we have to set the priorities. Okay,
Yes.
what comes first? Religion or culture?
Religion, of course.
Religion, okay. So now let's ask the second question. Okay, this dress that you're trying to adopt or to wear, okay,
Yes.
does it follow the rules of the Islamic teaching or not? That's the question that I have to ask myself.
Yes.
If it does,
It's covering all the important
Yeah.
body parts. It's not transparent. It's not, tight.
so I don't see a reason for people to be offended, okay, of that. I just see it, as an offensive act, okay, when people tend to go in public and say, you know what, wearing a dishdasha is a sign of, backwardness. Or, these Omani people, wear dishdashas and, they that, then I have a problem.
But Ahmed, it goes also the other way around. If you degrade other people's
Yes.
customs, especially costumes, if they are not breaking any law
Yeah.
of the religion of Islam.
So it should be fine. This is what I'm saying. What comes first? We have to set the priorities. We have to say what is more important actually. Is it to follow the religion or to follow the culture? Of course, there are a lot of good things, when it comes to culture. We're not saying that the culture is absolutely wrong, okay? But we're saying that sometimes, there are teachings that could contradict, with our cultural, rules or what we do here. So we have to put, religion on the top, okay? And then, culture comes after that.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the universe, the most gracious, the most merciful, owner of the day of judgment. You alone do we worship, and you alone we turn to for help. Guide us to the straight path, the path of those on whom you have bestowed your grace, not the way of those who have earned your anger, nor of those who went astray.
In our modern day, values have changed, and many of us became confused with the choices that life has to offer. Join us in this journey, the choices of life that will lead us to an everlasting happiness and will enable us to remain on the straight path. The Choice. 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. this Ramadan, here on the Nation Station.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear listeners, welcome back to the show, The Choice, with me, myself, Hatim al-Absalam, and my dear brother Ahmed al-Mutani. And the topic of today is morals versus freedom. And thankfully, alhamdulillah, brother Ahmed has taken us through some of the aspects of morality. We just have two more points to cover regarding morality. Before that, we would like to remind our listeners that this discussion is not between me and Ahmed only. You're all welcome to join in and call. Our numbers are 24602058. That's 24602058. Call us anytime and tell us what you think of the topic. So, Ahmed, tell us of some of the morals that are there in the religion of Islam that has been there since the beginning of the religion of Islam, and are unique to the religion of Islam.
Yeah, I mean, Islam guides our moralities to deal not only with individuals, but with the community, with Muslims, non-Muslims, also how to deal with rulers, how to deal with scholars. Also, it teaches us how to act at different times. You know, so it's not specifically during peace, but also sometimes during war.
Yeah.
How we go about like wars, for example, how we deal with people who are in wars and so on. These are almost, Islam talks about every aspect of morality. It's not specifically dealing with Muslims, but also with non-Muslims and so on. For example, in the Holy Quran, there are some examples, repeatedly mentioned in the Holy Quran. Dealing with somebody's parents, the best manner. This is one thing that emphasized a lot in the Holy Quran. One of the manners. Being nice to your relatives, neighbors. Okay. Also taking care of orphans, poor people. Being honest is also another moral that Quran emphasizes. Being sincere. Especially when it comes to intentions. Okay, you have to be really sincere. You have to be having good intentions, and also you have to fulfill your promises. Also, this is also another moral that repeatedly mentioned in the Holy Quran. Also, you need to treat people fairly, regardless of their religions. Okay, tribes and so on. This is also another concept that discussed in the Holy Quran, and also. When it comes to the idea of before Islam, okay, Arabs used to be very tribal, and they value tribalism more than anything else. But yes. Islam sort of ended this, okay, told them that, look, it's not about, tribalism. It's about, your deeds, okay? Your tribe will not lead you to heaven unless you have good morals. Also, another thing is that the acceptance of the worship of a multitude, of beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They used to worship, more than
idols.
Yes, idols, okay? But also in the Islam, okay, there's only one God that we have to worship. This is the one concept. And then also, like in the Arab at that time, with the Arabs at that time, they used to value the idea of giving support to your tribe or to people, regardless whether that is right or wrong.
Yes.
For example, you're Al Abdus Salam, I will support you till death, okay? Even if you are wrong.
Even if I'm a transgressor.
Exactly. So they will support you. But this is not acceptable in the Islamic teaching. Okay, you need to support people when they're right. Okay, if they're wrong, you need to guide them. You need to talk to them, and you need to support those who are having the right to in this the conversation.
So what do you mean? What you mean to say is that the people in Arabia, they had one of the worst morals around at that time. They used to cheat and steal in their transactions. They used to be very harsh on the poor.
Yeah.
And they had no equality. They had tribalism. But this religion, the religion of Islam, came and changed them
Exactly.
to better
Yes.
individuals,
Correct.
and they became role models.
Exactly. I mean, one example is look at the Umar bin Khattab, for example.
The
He used
second
to be-
caliph.
yeah, let's say he used to be very tough and rough and supportive, for people who are from the same group.
Yes.
Okay, but when he decided to convert to Islam or to revert to Islam, he completely changed, and he was willing to do whatever it takes to be fair to people, regardless of your ethnicity, your tribe, and so on. And a very famous story is the story of the Egyptian guy with one of the companions, sons, who thought that because he's an Arab and he has he's from a very good family, he can do whatever. He started beating the Egyptian guy who was considered to be a slave, okay, at that time. And Caliphate Omar ibn Khattab, he said, no, you cannot, deal with people based on your ancestors, okay, and you want people to be degraded because you are coming from such family, okay. And he actually decided to treat, okay, or to have a verdict against that person, the guy from the noble family, and he said, no, since you are wrong, then that person has to what to be treated fairly, and he has taken his right, from that.
Just to be fair, Ahmed, I need to ask this question. Why is this morality that is brought by Islam has not changed the Muslims in this time, in this era? Muslims, we don't generalize, but a lot of them have very bad morals and they display, they represent this religion the bad way.
Well, I think we talked about this at the beginning. Maybe we can elaborate more. I mean, Islam, okay, is different, okay, from what Muslims are doing. We have to make a clear distinction between the two. Morals are very clear, okay, in the teaching of Islam. But Muslims are not necessarily following, the teaching of Islam, like all of the teachings, okay. And sometimes, when you don't educate yourself about your teaching, you don't expect, good results. Okay, this is why, a lot of Muslims nowadays have no knowledge sometimes, or very little knowledge about their teachings and about, their rules. And as a result, they are shaky. Okay, they are easily influenced by, ideas coming from outside. And we don't propagate, well, actually, to talk about, these principles, these morals, and why we have them, why they have a great impact on us. And a lot of people prefer, I would not say a lot of people, but some people prefer the easy way. Because sometimes, these morals require a lot of effort, a lot of dedication, a lot of sincerity. And this is not an easy thing.
Yes.
Okay, it's not an easy thing. You need to really work hard in order to maintain, all these morals and principles, and have them in place.
Okay, we have gone through morals, and now we are moving on to the second option, which is freedom.
Yeah.
And these two things are going head to head, and they are competing in the choice. But before that, we would like to remind our listeners that they can call us anytime in our numbers 24602058, 24602058, and please let us know what you think about this topic. Okay, now when it comes to freedom, what is the definition of total freedom?
Well, freedom actually is the well of doing whatever you want to do. Okay, very simple. This is, the freedom. You're free to do whatever you want. Okay, free to say whatever you want. Free to act the way you want. Okay, there are no boundaries. Okay, no rules, nothing. Okay, you have the choice to do whatever you want. This is, the general meaning of a freedom. But you were talking about the concept of total freedom. Total freedom is when you think that you have the right to do whatever you want, regardless whether you try to break the rules, okay, invade, other people's privacies, and you just don't care about, people who are around you.
Insulting other people?
Yes, because you would say this is freedom of speech. Okay. Freedom is a good concept, actually. as a general concept. But sometimes people misuse it and try to use it as a way to invade other people's privacy, also to do a lot of crazy things, okay, in the name of a freedom.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that, to have freedom, that you could just do whatever you want, and you don't consider people's feelings, people's, thought, people's ideas. Okay, this is not acceptable.
Can anyone be total free? Is there anyone on this universe who is totally free?
No. People think that they are free. If you look around, like name any place around the world, there will be rules.
Yes.
Which means what?
They're not free.
Exactly. They have to go by the book.
Okay, we have a call, Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu
How are you,
alaikum.
my friend?
I'm
Wa
fine.
alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you?
Very good, fine. And you?
Fine, thank you. Ramadan Kareem.
Same to you. I'm so happy that you are giving me and you are giving all to the listener a very useful information.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
First of all, thank you very much indeed. Second thing, I hope this will not be only in Ramadan. The useful programs should be always all during the year.
Well, that is not our decision, but inshallah we'll raise this concern to the management of the radio station, and inshallah, why not?
The third thing, I'm just listening to the definition of the freedom, which is very important to me and to others, because most of people, they are getting confused. What does mean freedom exactly?
Yes.
Like, is it the freedom means like you can talk whatever you want, or you do whatever you want, or you go wherever you go? So always there is, as what I believe, always there is a limitation of what we talk, of what we eat. Everything has a limit, so we have to know that we don't hurt each other. We are saying always that the good things, we are avoiding the bad things, and so on, as you know.
Thank you so much, brother, for that addition. And inshallah, we'll elaborate more on the concept of freedom.
Yeah. Finally, I would like to recommend that the more you talk about Islam, the more you explain who is Islam, who is Muslim people, the more people who got confused about Muslims, as you know that there are a lot of problems around the world, and some people, they get some confusing about, how is the politics and how is the news are reported. So the good explanation about Islam, you make the good idea people are going to get.
Inshallah, brother, during the month of Ramadan, we have 21 episodes, and we'll cover all these aspects, introducing people to the real Islam, and also to explain the choices that we have in life, so that everyone can choose their own choices. Thank you very much, brother. Thank you.
Most welcome. Thank you.
Take care. So, Ahmed, we were at the definition of freedom.
Yeah.
And we were just discussing about, does anyone have total freedom in this universe?
No.
And you said no.
There's no way, like as we said, freedom has been always denied to a lot of people, in fact,
Yes.
by law, by culture sometimes, by, so you cannot just, have this concept, absolute, and it can be done at any situation, with anybody, at any place. No, I mean...
Why do you think that we can't have this total freedom? What are the reasons behind this?
Definitely, first of all, we're different, Hatem. Okay, and if you allow people to have this total freedom, if you want to call it, okay, then definitely we will tend to express things which are very good for us, or nice to us, or we like them, or we love them, which could also contradict with other people's belief system.
Yes.
Okay, so there's no way that you can have this total freedom to accommodate all the different beliefs, the different preferences, different choices, and so on.
Yes.
It's almost impossible. I would say it is impossible. So this is why freedom has to be restricted, has to be controlled, has to be regulated in order to to protect your rights and my rights, okay, and my duties also to spell out, all the duties that I'm supposed to do. If we don't have this system of controlling it or regulating it, then definitely, people will insult each other. There will be a lot of issues. There will be a lot of fights, and then people will not be able to understand each other. And this is what's happening actually around us.
So
we have a lot of issues because of that.
So Ahmed, now we know that we can't be totally free. There must be something or someone who is restricting our freedom. What is restricting our freedom, Ahmed?
First of all, before we're talking about this, we need to make sure that the idea of restriction is not a negative thing. Okay, so let's put this, in the floor first. Restriction do not mean that there is a problem.
Yes.
Okay, restriction is only to regulate things sometimes, and sometimes they can be a negative thing. So they are can be good and can be also bad at the same time. But back to your question, which is who restricts us or restricts our freedom? There are so many factors actually. First of all, religiously speaking, okay, God will restrict us from doing a lot of things, from saying a lot of things. Okay, so religion is one aspect, where restricts in a good sense. Okay, society also plays a role actually in restricting our freedom. Okay, of course, the country rules,
the law,
the
law of the land.
The law of the land will definitely restrict our freedom. Okay, and there will be a lot of issues. Sometimes even ourselves, you will restrict yourself from certain things. You decide on that.
Yes.
But these are the main sources of restrictions. But as I said,
even in a household, Ahmed, being a parent, you will be restricting some of the freedom of your children.
Correct. So there are so many resources actually for restriction when it comes to this. Teachers, for example. I'm a teacher, for example. I restrict, my students from doing a lot of things. I'm sure that they don't want to have quizzes, they don't want to have assignments, they don't want to have this. But
I hope they're listening to you now.
Oh yeah. Okay, but they're having a quiz, on Sunday, so they have to be ready for that. But everybody will put, a lot of restrictions. Okay, when it comes to it. But back to the most important thing: are these restrictions good or bad? And what is the purpose actually from these restrictions? Okay, definitely we want to make sure that you get your rights. Okay, and also you also have to do your responsibilities and your duties, towards people around you, the society, your religion, your God, and so on. So we need to have a lot of restrictions when it comes to that.
Can you be picky in the restriction? So you say that I will follow the restriction of the land, but I will not follow the restriction of my parents and the religion and the community, for example.
First of all, we have to put them, in a certain order. Okay. First of all, restriction from God have to be followed. You cannot just say, you know what, today I'll follow this, tomorrow I will not follow.
What if you don't believe in God?
If you don't believe in God, then that's another story. We cannot do much about it. Okay, but every system, has rules and regulations that we have to follow.
But it's still confusing, Ahmed. There are people out there following different types of God in their own way.
Yeah.
And if each and one of them follows their God and their restriction, so they would be different than one another. So what are we talking here about when you say that God has to be?
Yeah, because we Muslims, and we are in a Muslim country, definitely we have to refer to the rules that derive from the Holy Quran, and from the Islamic teachings. So definitely, there are a lot of overlapping rules, when it comes to different religions, okay. But at the same time, the Islamic teachings, accommodate so much of these rules, to be serving not only Muslims but even non-Muslims. And this is an invitation for everybody here to Google, okay, to read, to search about, Islamic teaching, because there are a lot of good things, okay, that we need to learn, and you need to explore. You need to be open-minded to the idea of, here, for example, we have a lot of non-Muslims brothers and sisters. We need to talk to we need to talk to them. We need to have a dialogue. We need to talk about things, discuss things, okay, so that maybe they might be interested in learning more about Islam, and then it's up to them whether they want to go for this choice or not.
So the first priority you said is the restriction of God.
Correct.
What is next?
Next, the country or the state, okay, especially when these rules also derived, okay, from the Islamic teaching.
Okay.
Because sometimes there will be rules which are not actually derived or taken from the main source.
The secular rules.
The secular rules and so on, because people would like to have more freedom and so on, and also to accommodate different cultures, different people and so on.
Yes.
Okay, but hopefully these will not clash a lot with the main rules, okay, of God, okay. And then of course, the culture, okay, there comes first. And also we have to apply the concept that these rules or restrictions will have to be in line with the Islamic teaching, okay. And then we can go to the individual rules, okay. You can have your own rules, okay, as a father or as a husband or as an employee, okay. So these would be different, but the main thing, they have all to be in line with the Islamic teaching.
Okay, I have a scenario for you, Ahmed.
Yes.
What if we have total freedom in this world? What would be the case?
We'll have a lot of issues, man.
Tell us about the issues.
Okay, first of all, one clear issue is Hatem, invading in privacy. If we leave it to people to decide on whatever they want to say, they will insult each other, yeah, and then that will create a lot of sensitivity, a lot of tension in the society, which is something that nobody wants to have in the society, because we're different, okay,
Yes.
and we have different desires, we have different interests, we have different preferences, so we will not agree on a lot of things. So if I leave it to you, okay, and you leave it to me, then we'll have a lot of clashes, we'll have a lot of issues, we'll not be able to understand each other. But if we have set of rules, okay, that have been agreed upon, then we'll not have a lot of issues.
Okay, tell us some of the issues or the consequences of total freedom in some of the societies.
Nudity, for example.
Nudity.
Okay, is one thing that people say. I have the freedom to do whatever I want. I don't want to wear anything.
How is that a bad thing?
It is a bad thing, because if you want to, I'm sorry, but let's say if somebody want to be nude, for example. Okay, I don't want to see somebody who's nude. Okay, so why are you imposing that kind of thing on me? This is not a freedom.
No, he would say the same thing, that I don't want to see you fully covered. For example, the women in Islam are fully covered. Some of them even cover their face.
Yes.
So they would, for the sake of argument, they would say that, okay, I don't want also to see you fully covered.
But let's look at the consequences of somebody who's covered,
yes,
and somebody who's not covered.
Yes.
Somebody who's nude,
Okay.
naked. So are they having the same kind of effects?
To tell us what are the
For
effects?
example, okay,
Yes.
when you go around and you see people around you naked, sexually very tempting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? I mean, you go around to work or something.
But you're
and
supposed to be civilized and control yourself.
No, this is instinct, okay? This is, something that within us. I cannot control. I mean, I will strive, to control it, but I will get to a stage where I will lose.
Yes.
And imagine, you go around and you see everybody naked, that will affect you psychologically, and you will consider this as okay.
What you'll end up doing?
You might end up, fornicating. I mean, this is very tempting. This is very, appealing. This is very inviting, for me to do something wrong.
What about rape?
Yeah, this is rape, definitely. If you some people, they cannot, control themselves. And if they say, let's say a woman who's naked, for example, what's going to happen? They will just go and rape her. And this is why, for example, almost 18% of the women in the United States, this is one example, are raped in their entire life. This is like
80%.
18%. They
Okay,
say
18%.
18% adults. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they get exposed to the idea of being raped.
Mm.
And when you do a small analysis, this is also applicable for a lot of Western countries and so on. And when you think about it, most of the people will say they are tempting, they are inviting, you to consider the idea of raping, okay, because of the way sometimes a woman dress. And once, I don't know, I was reading this article.
But does that justify if someone who is wearing in a very revealing way, does it justify someone to rape her?
No, well, I'm not saying that this, but what I'm saying is that if we have rules, for example, for what to wear, and we're not asking people to cover fully, if they're not believing the religion of Islam.
Yes.
But what we are saying is that you don't create a window for people to do something wrong, because you cannot expect the reaction from the people.
Why should I take the responsibility of other people's actions?
Because I'm part of the society. I contribute directly or indirectly in the society, okay, the humanity, okay, entirely. Okay, drugs, for example, because we don't have any rules. Okay, people say, let me try anything. I'll try, this. I'll try this. Today, I will take this and so on.
Yeah, but let's say, for example, if I smoke drugs, or sniff drugs, it makes me feel good, and I do it in my own premises at my own time, and I buy it with my own money. Where's the problem?
There's a big problem. First of all, this person is going to be idle. It will be, a person who is not effective in the community. That will affect him. If he doesn't take, these drugs continuously,
Yes.
okay, he will act in a very funny way. And this is scientifically and medically proven that if you don't take them, okay, in a certain manner, then you will have a lot of issues. We'll have a problem also with the society. The government has to pay a lot of money, okay, for more services to be provided for these people.
Yes.
We want people to produce, okay, while in reality these people have to be taken care of. And this is an issue, okay. There are a lot of psychological issues now.
Okay, things like smoking, drinking, and eating pork. This is something to do with me, and if you claim that it affects me, then it's a minimal effect that takes a very long time, and I'm productive. I go to work and this, but it is my total freedom. I can smoke, I can eat pork, and I can drink alcohol.
No, I mean, you cannot isolate it, Hatem, because let's say you will be able to control it at the beginning, but when you come to the stage of addiction, then you cannot control it. And this is not affecting you,
Yes.
affecting your family, people around you. Your family will be under stress, okay? If you have a children seeing you every day, you are under the impact of the drugs. This is not a good thing.
But if you don't allow me to do all these things, I feel like I'm in a prison. I don't have the freedom to live my life the way I like. What's the point of life if I can't live it the way I wish?
Yeah, I mean, if you can live the way you wish, but it should not harm you as a person. Because look, you have a lot of people who love you. There are a lot of people who care for you. And if you get affected, these people also get affected. So this is selfishness. You don't think only about yourself. You need to think about people around you. And you cannot isolate yourself from people around you. This is very simple.
So what do you suggest the solution is? Should we go... before the solution, these consequences of freedom, are they moral?
Oh, you mean lack of morality, you mean? Because of lack of morality?
No, can you consider them to be morality? Like nudity, drugs, rape,
definitely.
and all these things?
Because, look, if your teachings are telling you not to reveal your body to the public.
Mm.
And by the way, revealing is not only constrained, to women, but also for men.
Yes.
You know that, it's there are certain rules also for men.
That's right.
Okay, it's not only for women. So the issue of not wearing, the proper dress or not wearing a dress at all are actually part of the idea of not having, proper morals or part of what we call immorality. Okay, so we need morals in order to control this kind of freedom. If we have rules derived from the Holy Quran or from the teachings and so on, then definitely we'll not cross, the boundaries and the rules, and then we'll not have a lot of issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you suggest the solution is? Should we go for morals or should we go for freedom?
Look,
what is the choice that...
Now, like some people might also consider this myth that, we need to have a lot of restrictions and a lot of rules and a lot of that. This will create a problem, okay? We'll have a lot of people who are extremist.
Okay, that's a good word, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So what do we mean here by extremist?
For example, like there are some people who will tell you not to do this, this is not allowed, this is haram, and so on, and then everything will be haram, no freedom at all,
You got excited there.
Okay. So no haram, no halal, everything is no. As a result, people, get, frustrated, and then they might, get, kill themselves, or they might, do something crazy. And also on the other side, we should not be, too free too.
Yeah.
So the idea of you need to have this balance between having freedom, and listen, in Islam, it's very clearly mentioned, there's no compulsion, okay, in following a certain religion. The religion of Islam is very clear.
Yes.
Whoever want to follow it, it's up to him. If he doesn't want to follow it, it's up to him too. Okay, so it's very clear that this ideologies that people trying to propagate about Islam, that Islam has a lot of restrictions, a lot of rules, and so on. In fact, if you go back, and even now, because Islam does not change, if you go to the teachings of Islam, you will see that Islam is the religion that liberates a lot of slaves, a lot of ladies. Okay, I mean, till the end of let's say last century, okay, women were not able to vote, but this was a right given to a woman a long time ago by the Islamic teaching.
That's right.
Okay, people were given the choice
They were
to
not
worship.
They were not considered humans.
Yes,
women.
Yes, and they, but the idea of people who are living in the Islamic community were given the choice to worship their gods, okay, to practice their rituals without any issues and not.
So you had Christians and Jews living with Muslims.
Exactly. I mean, what has been practiced nowadays does not reflect the true message of Islam.
Yes.
I mean, as we said before, we cannot relate everything that Muslims are doing, okay, let's say between bracket crazy Muslims are doing, okay, to the teachings of Islam. If you want to find the true message, you need to go to the sources of Islam in order to find out more about the true message of Islam.
Now I have a problem when you restrict freedom, Ahmed, with human rights. Do they clash? I mean, now you're regulating the freedom of the people.
Yeah.
How does it go along with human rights?
I don't see them clashing at all. Like, I mean, if you have freedom, which is regulating the process, then you will practice your rights, okay?
Yes.
And I will practice my rights, okay? And this is what happens actually in the Islamic teaching. Jewish, okay, non-Muslims, okay, in general, okay, were able to practice, they were able to do whatever they want without any problems, as long as they don't harm other people's and invade other people's privacy. This is it's okay. And what has been practiced in some of the Muslim countries, okay, should not be carried to interpret the true message of Islam. Okay, we know that there are a lot of Muslim countries that do not follow the Islamic teachings by the book, And this is a fact. We cannot deny the fact. I mean, maybe there isn't any single country, Muslim country, that actually follows the Islamic teachings entirely. Okay, there are a lot of man-made rules. Okay, integrated and so on. So I want to invite everybody who is listening to us, to go to the main sources and try to learn about the Islamic teaching from the real sources.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about double standards in freedom, especially in the Islamic world. When you have certain restrictions on freedom on particular group of society, and you have a total freedom for other group of the society.
Exactly.
What can you say about that?
Well, this is a very common phenomenon actually in our world, okay, not only for Muslim countries, okay, but even around the world, okay. People will, for example, if a very clear example will be when the cartoon drawings, okay, about the Prophet Muhammad were considered to be part of freedom of speech. Okay.
Yes.
While if somebody says something negative about a certain group, okay, then people will say this is violation of freedom of speech. I mean, the not violation of respect, and so on. And they will try to to apply double standard rules. So it depends on who you are, okay, which religion you follow, and then people will try to apply different standards and different rules based on who you are.
Yeah, but Muslims have never tried to express their freedom of speech when it comes to the West. So they've never insulted anyone in public before.
Yeah.
So how do you know that it's a double standard, that this would happen?
No, I mean, there are some occasions where Muslims acted, emotionally or reacted emotionally to some of the, I would say, I would call them violations of, of rules. And then, people where these Muslims were treated, in a very firm way. And people were saying that this is not, acceptable. You have, expressed your opinion about something which insulted, another faith or another religion and so on. While, if somebody else, from another faith would come and talk about Islam, okay, without any issues, people will say, this is part of a freedom of speech. You can express yourself freely without any issues. Why people are getting angry? So why also you're getting angry when people say something bad about, I'm not saying that we should say bad things about, other religions or other people. All what I'm saying is that, if you want to apply a certain principle, you need to apply it across the board. And this will not happen, by the way,
Okay, I would like to ask you, do you consider this to be double standards? Is that when people from different faiths, they live in the Islamic world, and they're free to wear whatever they want, but Muslims in their countries, especially in Europe, they're forbidden from wearing the scarf and to wear modestly, and some of them even are restricted from entering school. Do you consider this to be double standards?
Yes, definitely. This is a very good, actually, example of double standards. How can you call for freedom of speech and freedom of a choice, and then you put a lot of restrictions and put a lot of rules, okay, when it comes to things which could not harm, actually. If I dress fully, okay, and I covered, like myself, what's the big deal? What is the big deal, I mean, it's really funny, sometimes, I mean, you need to look at my intellectuality, to the way I think, the way I behave, the way I act, not, the way I dress, okay? So why you think that, if I dress properly, I have a problem with that? Okay, there are a lot of people wearing, properly, and they don't have issues at all. They are scientists, they are scholars, and if you go to other places, they will not have any issues. So I feel that this concept of double standards is very practiced, and even here in the Muslim world, when it comes to sectarian differences, if you are the minority, then people will tend to degrade you.
Yes.
Okay, and also the same thing, if you're the majority, people start saying that you cannot touch us, because we are the majority. This is actually not Islamic. And we have a lot of issues, people start finding at each other, and they think that this is okay because we are the majority and you are the minority.
So a lot of people out there, they describe the religion of Islam as being a very oppressive religion that is restricting the freedom of people. But on the other hand, we find that Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world, and a lot of people, especially the ones who are labeled as being oppressed, the women,
Yeah.
they are the majority who are embracing this religion.
Yeah.
How can you justify this phenomenon?
Well, that's by itself, answers the question, why people, would go from this total freedom to, as they call it, oppressive religion, because they know, that this religion teaches a lot of good morals and a lot of good things, and Islam from the first place honors, all human beings, including women, and there's one whole chapter dedicated for women, we don't have a chapter called, men.
Yeah,
we don't have a chapter,
yes.
called, but we have one whole chapter, one of the longest chapters in the Holy Quran.
It's called women.
They are called women, talking about their rights, talking about their circumstances, talking about their duties, and how we act, with them, how we deal with them, and so on. That's, by itself shows how honorable women are in our religion and so on.
So what you're saying, Ahmed, is people have to walk away from that total freedom and come to the fold of Islam, to morality, so they should let go of their freedom?
Yes. If a freedom can lead me astray and can lead me to the wrong path, I don't need that kind of freedom. I need a freedom that liberates me from wrong thinking, from wrong actions, I need a freedom that, will not make me invade your privacy. I need a freedom that will make me think in a way that I will never do harms to other people.
There's a very ironic thing here, Ahmed, is that although Islam is considered by others as being a very aggressive and very restricting religion that restricts the freedom of people, but actually nobody forces you into doing anything, in following.
Yeah.
Because these restrictions, the constraints on freedom are there in the scriptures, in our Holy Quran, but actually nobody comes and polices you and says that, why are you becoming so over free? Why are you violating this particular freedom act?
Yeah.
So it's between you and God.
Exactly. And this is the beauty of Islam, is that, it's not only about, your relationship with the people, but also your strong relationship with God. Because, people will always, put you in different, shapes and cubes and so on. But what you need to make sure is that your relationship is with God is very strong and well connected.
Yes.
So that you will not have issues with God.
So Ahmed, we made people so confused here, whether to follow morality or to choose freedom or total freedom. So what's the conclusion of this all?
I think
what's the way forward?
Definitely we need morals in our societies, and morals that are derived, which are divine actually, and derived from religious, scripture. And in this case, we're talking about the Holy Quran.
Yes.
And of course, the prophetic, traditions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, this is one thing. So we need actually morals.
Yes.
At the same time, we cannot limit the freedom. We cannot restrict, freedom to not have it at all.
Yes.
We need to have this kind of balance between the two. You need morals to regulate your freedom. You cannot have a freedom without any morals. Because if you have a freedom without morals, guess what's going to happen? You will go and do whatever, and you will not think about peoples. You will just go and destruct, the society, because you just say, this is part of my freedom. This is part of my freedom. But if you have morals, definitely you will be able to know what is under the freedom that you want to have in your society or in your life.
So, Ahmed, morality will give us prosperity in this life. It will give us the best choices for our fellow human beings. It will give us coexistence with one another, and freedom, we will get at least some of the things that are needed for us in this life. Yeah, the freedom to drink whatever you want, the freedom to eat whatever you want, to dress whatever you want in the terms that are given in our faith. The freedom to speak to anyone, but to regulate that tone so that you don't harm other people.
Exactly.
And surprisingly, that the penal system or the punishment system in Islam mostly has to do with the hereafter. Yeah. So if you say something bad to someone, if the law of that land does not, condemn that type of act, but for sure you will get the consequence of that in the hereafter. I think we have covered this topic for today, Ahmed, and I hope our listeners have made up their mind of the choice that they want. We will see you all tomorrow, inshallah, with myself and the team, inshallah. Thank you very much, Ahmed, for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.